Bam. We are live. Hey, what's happening out there, wrestling community? Ward Wrestling Live. Everybody that's watching the show, thank you so much. I'm honored to have another amazing company and person and people that are in the wrestling community doing big things, and they're bringing Tyrant Wrestling to Florida with the Poseidon Duels in Daytona Beach this year. I'm here with Cory, Frederick, and Seve Cordero. Cory's the owner and founder. Seve is his right-hand man. And we'll get into all that. But if you guys don't know, and I was surprised because I've heard of all these tournaments, but I didn't know who was behind it. But, you know, this is the company that does the CW Take Two, the Crusade, the Smoke Show, Bison, Battle in the Bird, Redemption, Columbus Day Duels, Armageddon, West Penn Duels, Bison Winter, Tyrant Duels, Ice Age, McDonough Duels, and now they've added Poseidon Duels, which is coming to Florida. Us Floridians down here are very excited to have them, and we're hoping that we'll have them for years to come. But if you don't know, 20 plus years hosting wrestling tournaments here with Mr. Frederick up top, with Seve. Seve's been right next to him since he started this program. Seve wrestled for Cordero back when he was coaching. And again, Poseidon coming here March 27th and 28th, and we'll get into all that tournament. But first things first, you know, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you. I know I've been a kind of a tick. I've been trying to get a hold of you guys like, hey, come on, let's do this. But you guys have been super busy. Finally got you on. It's great. Welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah, I apologize. It's taken a little while. I'm not great with social media. I think my first response to you was, if you need me, just, call or text me or even email. But it's kind of hit or miss with the whole Facebook message thing. I have messages in there from 3 years ago that I haven't responded to. So the guys that work for me do a good job of managing that for me.
Yes, and I told you, Seve, you guys reached out like within 24 hours of each other, and I had told him, well, I just heard from you, so then I guess you guys put it together, and here we are. It's been awesome. Yeah, Seve, before we get into obviously who Cory is and how he started this whole big thing, how do you come into the picture?
So for me, I went to college and came back and, rekindled with Cory. And, I just, for me, loved the wrestling industry. I grew up wrestling for Cory back when Tyrant first started. And there was some opportunities to start working some tournaments about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And ever since, I've been with him and been along the journey with, having a couple tournaments and now having, 20 to 30 tournaments. So it's a blessing to be a part of an organization that I grew up with. And, I'm definitely a Tyrant for life. So super excited again to come down to Florida and show kind of what we can do here on the East Coast down there.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you. I mean, I've been hearing about it for a few months now, and everybody's prepared. And I hope you guys have been receiving a really good showing as far as kids, boys, girls, young and older signing up. Yeah, I mean, I know that our club is going to be there. They had mentioned it to us already, so we'll definitely be up there. But I know Steve was saying you've got some pretty cool awards for the kids this year.
Yeah, Seve, you want to show them the awards that we got made up? So we have, we try to do something custom and different every single tournament that we have. But, for the open, second through fourth place, it's a typical medal, a little bit nicer, a little bit bigger. But when it comes to the champion award and then the team awards, those the ones you see right now, and he can actually hold it up. But that team award is a 6 foot tall trident. So, all the teams that place top three will get one of those. You can physically hold it, and hopefully you can fit it in your car or the airplane back home. And the champion awards that we have, or outstanding wrestler awards that we have, are all handheld ones that are about a little over a foot tall piece, but they're all custom. You can't find them in the store anywhere. They're made by one of our vendors specifically for each event. So they're pretty cool.
How cool is that? Yeah, those are awesome, and it's fun that you kind of make it original to what you do. I see the big the ocean guy, with the big fork there in your photos and stuff. So that's awesome. Oh man, and parents could probably take that home and etch their kid's name on it or something if they wanted to.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty dope, man. Well, thanks for showing those, Seve. And back to Cory. If you don't know, Tyrant Wrestling founder and tournament director. He's been hosting these tournaments for 20 plus years. You heard the names that I read to you. These are some of the biggest tournaments, in wrestling that go on this year. Glad to have you, Cory, man. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into deciding, okay, I was a wrestler. I enjoyed coaching. And then next thing you know, I've got this huge company putting on these amazing tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, my story is a little different than most. Really, originally I was a baseball player. I started playing baseball when I was 7 years old, and my mom was a single parent. Unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was 7 years old. So really, the funeral director, that was out at my house when my dad passed away, really said, "Hey, I think you need to get your kid involved with something." So he stays straight. And so he helped us get signed up for the local Little League. And I played baseball for the longest time. And I remember a lot of other kids in the neighborhood playing other sports, but I didn't really know. I didn't even know to ask my mom to sign me up. So I knew baseball when I played, but football and wrestling and everything else that all my friends were playing, I kind of tagged along and I'd watch them play or we'd play in the neighborhood, but I never really knew how to get involved. I ended up going to a middle school. I changed over to a different school in 7th grade. And this school they didn't have gym class. So they required you to play a sport every single season. So I finally got to play football. I got introduced to wrestling for the first time. And then obviously I played baseball. And then, and this is before the internet, right? So this is in the early 90s. So I just remember I started getting involved with wrestling and I really liked it. And I did a couple of tournaments outside of our school schedule, but really, I started seeing these when I was watching the high school state tournament. I saw, what schools were winning, who had the most champions, right? So I ended up transferring to another school for high school, and St. Mark's High School in Wilmington, Delaware. And at the time, they had a great program. They were nationally ranked and just tons of state champs. One of the best programs in the state. And then from there, it just kind of took on a life of its own. I loved wrestling. I loved the new challenge. I can't say that I had a high, I always did well, but the first couple of years, I wasn't going out there winning championships after championship, right? It was just something that I loved to do. I hated to lose. It was a new challenge. And I just kind of got bored with standing out in the baseball field, waiting for a ball to get hit to me kind of a thing. So I ended up giving up baseball and football, and then just focused on wrestling all through high school. And then for me, personally, I just never really was too much into school, and I started a family at a young age. And so instead of me then going on to college and potentially pursuing my wrestling career in college, I started coaching at 19 years old. So, I lost the state championship my senior year, second year in a row, lost in the finals. And I remember just kind of thinking to myself, I want nothing to do with wrestling ever again. And really, it took about a year of just being off the mat and kind of getting my family established with work and those types of things. And my father-in-law at the time was a coach, and then he became an official. So he was on me about coming out and helping out with his program. So really, I went from high school, took off about a year, then I jumped into coaching, and I was coaching since 19 years old. So the entire time, so for about 5 years, I coached a school program for 8th grade and under, a youth program. And then we started Tyrant Wrestling back in 2002 because we wanted to be able to coach and work with everybody, not just the kids at one particular school in one particular area. And that's really kind of how it all started. I just loved coaching. I loved wrestling. I loved working with the kids. The tournament aspect of things, we started off with Tyrant Duels back in 2002. Really, that was just one less weekend that we had to travel as a team. And we got to select the level of competition in the teams that we wanted to compete against, right? So that was the only reason we started running a tournament. And the reason why it was a team tournament, a dual meet tournament, is because it pretty much ran itself and I could still coach, and this is before track wrestling, right? And flow wrestling. So I just had a paper copy of the bracket underneath my chair while I was coaching in the corner, and the coaches would bring over their paper score sheet over to me. I'd update it and then tell them what mat to go to. You fast forward that from 2002 to 2010, most of our guys that were wrestling for our youth program all were starting to get into the high schools. So then, my son and a lot of our guys were wrestling, they wrestled at St. Mark's as well, along with many of other schools, but they were wrestling at St. Mark's. And we were like, we got to get ready for the season here. Like, what have you guys done? Besides, okay, Fargo was in July, if you even went to Fargo, or Disney Duels or some of the other ones, but we were like, we got to get ready for the season. So that's how we came up with Columbus Day Duels back in 2010, was 16 teams at St. Mark's High School. Let's get ready for the season. And then now here you go. Like this year, until, we had to postpone it, we had 224 teams with a waiting list. So, all these things started for all the right reasons, and then they just kind of evolved into an animal of its own.
Yeah, and listen, thank God for companies like yourself who are doing this, especially during this time. It's crazy. You started in 2002, which the country was going through a tough time. I remember I was working in the car business back then, right after 9/11, and now here we are. Fast forward, we're in some tough times, but you know how to handle it, and you're still putting on these tournaments. You're still growing. You're still doing great things, and man, it's awesome. And I can't wait to be there, because everybody, I think I messaged you, everybody speaks so highly of you and your program. Shane McCall just said Tyrant Duels is traditionally one of the toughest and most well-run duels in the country. Teams are loaded with hammers. Ray Huntley just said Tyrant is top notch. Thanks for getting our kids on the mat. So obviously, I'm sure you guys get a lot of love, especially right now around the country, because now we're starting to see tournaments consistently, right? But through the beginning of this, nothing was really happening, right? We saw the gentleman from GFC throw on this, change his Michigan grappler to over in South Carolina, and I think the whole world was watching, right? Let's see how this happens, right? And then I think from there we started to see people go. Now I don't know, you might have had one before that, but I think that was kind of the that was kind of what we were all watching, right? Well, if he can do it, we can do it, right?
Yeah, our first tournament, from the start of the pandemic, in March, right? So like we serviced a lot of other events too, right? So we really didn't miss a beat. Our first Tyrant tournament back was supposed to be Bison Duels in July. We did postpone it to the first weekend of August. So we really never missed a beat. But our first tournament back from, the start of this pandemic was in August. Bison, and then we had Battle in the Berg in September. Some issues in that specific area, and some mixed messages with Department of Health and things like that. So that led us to postpone the Columbus Day Duels, unfortunately. But every other tournament that we've had has gone as scheduled. Now we have changed the locations a couple times. PA shut down, so we moved Bison Winter Duels and Open down to Virginia. We knew we were expecting PA to be shut down, so we just went ahead and made the decision to move Tyrant Duels down to Myrtle Beach. So, we've made some different decisions. I mean, there was a stretch of time where every single day I woke up, or when I went to bed, if I even got any sleep, I was wondering if we were going to be able to have tournaments. And, the biggest thing is, you're planning these events 6, 9, 12 months in advance. But there was times where like you can do all the planning you want, but you don't know what the next day was going to bring. And if you were going to have to change things or cancel or do whatever. So it was definitely a stressful time. I think now there's still, these parameters or guidelines we're working within, depending on where the tournament is located. But it's been a lot easier lately, or we've kind of figured it out. And I think everybody has kind of, made some progress as well. But there's definitely some tournament organizations, I think, that are doing a really good job. And then there's some other ones that maybe they haven't run tournaments in the past, but they're trying to provide opportunities for these kids to wrestle, because a lot of your normal local tournaments have been canceled.
Yeah, and please, whether you're pro-mask, anti-mask, just follow if you're putting tournaments on, because we want to continue to have wrestling, right?
I mean, that's the big, it's crazy, because like I make those announcements at the beginning of the tournaments or throughout the tournaments. And for me personally, like I never wear a mask if I don't have to, right? So if I'm walking around town, I'm not wearing a mask, or if I'm in my house, I'm not wearing a mask. But I kind of start off every tournament like, it doesn't matter what your personal belief is. Like, I can share my personal belief, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is we need to do what we have to do to be able to run a wrestling tournament and try to minimize, the spread of COVID. So like, for the most part, with the exception of one event recently that I think was just, there were so many other things going on and you can't pinpoint, where you got it, right? It's just like the flu. But, all the other events, there could have been onesies or twosies, but for the most part, we've gotten through unscathed through all these different events, but you got to wear your mask. There was one facility where we didn't have, nobody had to wear a mask. We didn't tell anybody necessarily because it was just, we got to do the right thing right now. If somebody was walking around without a mask, we didn't say anything to them, but all the other places that we're at, it's required that you wear a mask. So it doesn't matter what you believe. I know I'm going off on a tangent a little bit here, but that's the big thing, is like, it doesn't matter what you believe, but everybody wants their kids to be able to participate in wrestling tournaments. So you got to wear a mask. And then when we get out there, we're all free.
Yeah, like, please do it for your children. Like, they want to wrestle, right? Like, whether you believe it or not, it's not about you, the parent or the adult or the Democrat or the Republican or whatever you are. It's about getting these kids on the mat, and it's not that difficult. Just wear it until you don't have to. And I believe, I know here in Florida we've been open, but we've had to follow some guidelines, not to the level of probably a Pennsylvania or whatever's out there. But the one thing we follow is our mask wear. And obviously when you're on the mat or around the mat, I'm sure that's fine. But when you're in the stands and you're walking around, just follow it. You'd hate to have some inspector walk into the building in one of these counties and say, that's it, tournament's over, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what normal is going to be after all this, but I really am looking forward to things getting back to normal.
Yeah. I think we'll see some of this, whatever. I think some of this stuff will stay, some of it'll go, right? There are some great things that came through this, and that has nothing to do with wrestling, but we get off onto a big tangent, but there are some good things that came from this, but I don't know if I like standing 1 foot from somebody anyway, right? Disney lines are more comfortable. But yeah, this is definitely going to be fun. We're excited. I know, getting right into it. Obviously, you guys are bringing your amazing Tyrant dual team down here to Florida, Daytona Beach, the Ocean Center. Seve, I know you've been the one kind of in contact with all the kids and all the families and everything going on. How's that been going? Have you been getting some good feedback? Is the tournament growing? Is that a level you guys want it to be right now?
Yeah, so we've seen a huge influx of Florida wrestlers, which was our main market for who we were trying to, get to come to our tournament. But we have, several states, about, I think, 15 to 20 states being represented at this Poseidon tournament, whether it's in the duels or the open. So it's a tournament where we're trying to bring, again, like some of those East Coast wrestlers and West Coast wrestlers down south. So that we don't necessarily have to have those Florida wrestlers always traveling up to see us.
Yeah, that's great, and we appreciate that, and that awesome. And you hear that from other organizations, like I mentioned, GFC. I remember he told me the reason he started Michigan was because they wouldn't allow the kids to travel, so he was bringing teams too, just like you did in Philadelphia and Delaware and all that. So pretty awesome that people like you are around doing this. But if people don't know, I think we're close to it. If you haven't signed up, get signed up. The Poseidon Duels put on by Tyrant Wrestling, Daytona Beach, Florida, Ocean Center, March 27th to March 28th. On Friday, you'll have an early weigh-in. If you want to sign up for that, I think it said it was $20. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, at any time here. The early weigh-in was like 2 o'clock, I believe, correct?
Yeah, so the funny thing is we've never wanted to do an early weigh-in, but people have asked us for it. So, and we hate even charging money for it, but we've got to pull our staff off of doing other things to be able to run a weigh-in. But people seem to like the early weigh-in, so they can come in between 2 to 4 o'clock, pay their $20 on site. There's no registration or pre-registration necessary. Just come in, drop a $20 bill, weigh in, and then that frees them up to be able to go out to dinner, enjoy their night, check into their hotel, do whatever they have to do. And then for anybody that, doesn't want to come early or can't get off of work, they can weigh in at, from 6 to 8, later on that evening for our regular traditional weigh-in.
If kids are in school, whatever, right?
Yep.
And then, so weigh-ins there, I know that's been questions that we've asked. One thing, before we get into the duels, the open, the girls division, some miscellaneous stuff, there were a couple questions that came over from Mr. McCall. First of all, Mr. Gernhardt just said, Cory, great job. I've been to so many of Tyrant events, and I know you shouted him out when I had his young man on the other day. That might be TJ. I don't know if that's the little TJ or the big TJ, but that's someone there. But,
hey, Tom and TJ, we miss you up in Pennsylvania, but I'm sure the weather's a lot nicer in Florida.
Yeah, he just had a great run there at our state tournament, so good for him. So question from a viewer, he's been to obviously multiple Tyrant events. He wants to know, is this a one and done or will it be an annual tournament?
So, this year it's similar to, entering any new market. The tournament is, it'll be big in quality, a little smaller in size compared to what we're used to doing, but we'll have enough teams in every division to be able to get them to matches, them specifically, and then, as well with the open. But our plan is this isn't a one and done. If we were going to do a one and done, we would just do it somewhere back home. I mean, I'd run it in Pennsylvania where everybody could drive and our numbers would have been through the roof, right? So, the only thing that could change is originally this tournament was going to be the first weekend of March. But because of bike week and hotel rates were so high and just a whole host of different factors, we decided to move it to the last weekend of March for this year. Now, because NHSCA is typically the last weekend in March, along with some other things, our date could change, but this event will continue, and the plan will be to keep it in Florida, if not specifically Daytona Beach.
So, well, and also keep an eye on our Florida state tournament, because our state runs through the first week of March. So if you do release a date, if you release it the first week of March, it's going to be tough because you've got districts, regional, state tournament, and then it comes into there. So I don't know if that's ever affected you.
This year's dates were a lot of it was centered around the COVID schedule. So, when we go to do something going forward, one, we don't want to conflict obviously with your high school state tournament, but then two, quite honestly, we don't want to conflict with anybody. We want to do what's best for the wrestling community. And, now that we'll establish a network down in the Florida, Georgia area, even Tennessee, but, people like Coach Mike from Lake Highland Prep, we'll make sure that we're in communication with everyone to pick the best possible date. So we're not only, maximizing our participation, but we're definitely not having a negative effect on any other tournaments that are in the area.
Yeah. And I just wanted to give you a heads up because obviously that would suck, right? Represent Kenny Krieger, represent Delaware. Cory's doing great things for the wrestling community. So shout out to you.
Kenny's a local guy in Delaware. He had a great career himself, but now he's an official and he officiates at some of our events. So we appreciate his support. And, we talk about a lot of different things, but I can tell you one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is trying to get the best officials. And, there's officials that we haven't had back for different reasons. And there's officials that come to every single one of our events. And, we have some of our guys that work every single tournament. And then things like this, we're moving into Florida and, we're looking to get more officials. So if there's officials out there down in that area that want to work with us, reach out to us and, we'd love to have you.
Can you elaborate on the bad ones? No, I'm just kidding. The other question that the viewer had, specifically Shane McCall, he said, how much has the Tyrant network of teams shown interest in coming down to our state here in Florida?
So, this time around, there was some interest, but then there's things that are changing all the time. Let's say like the Jersey State tournaments, youth and high school season, PA has changed, right? So, we have kids, in regards to this year's registration, let's say the majority of the teams are registered out of Florida. We do have a team out of Colorado, but similar to every other team tournament that we do, that's based off of where the coach lives, right? So you might have a Florida team, but there could be, 10 different states represented on his team. So I know for a fact that one of the teams that are coming, they have kids coming from 6 different states, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Maryland, Georgia, Florida, Delaware, Colorado, Ohio. So it really just depends on where they're pulling their kids from. You have some teams that they practice together, they train together, they all know each other and they're coming there to get better and they might be competing for a title or they just want to improve. But then you got these other all-star type teams that, we could call it Team Delaware and there might be 1 kid or 0 kids from Delaware. That's just where the coach lives and registers.
Sure. And, but thanks for that. And those were some questions. And anybody watching right now, if you're watching while we're live, please send any questions. If you start to watch us, we're going to get thousands of views after we get done. If you guys have questions, please tag Cory or Seve or Tyrant Wrestling with your questions on the feed, and they'll get right back to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, back to Shane's question specifically, though, our ultimate goal is, we've always run our events. I live in Delaware. People think I live in Pennsylvania, but we've always run our events in PA for the most part. So, you're the majority of your event is coming from PA and the East Coast and the Mid Atlantic region, but we've always had teams coming from Texas and Colorado and California and Florida. We've had those teams coming in, but, my goal is, and when we've expanded these tournaments, to Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, and some of the other ones that we're working on, Ohio, that, we start to pull different teams, but then some of our guys from, let's say, back home, I say back home, but like, the Pennsylvania area where those tournaments are, you'll have 20% of those teams that'll come down to Florida, so there'll start to be more crossover between those teams, but, the Florida teams or the South teams won't always have to travel. So that's the ultimate goal, is to get more people to travel to other events, and they'll be more comfortable or confident in coming to that event in Florida because they know that Tyrant is the one that's running it.
Well, I mean, come on, Daytona Beach in the spring. I mean, that can't suck, right?
Compared to the snowstorms we have up here, it should be even if we weren't having a wrestling tournament, they should want to come.
Yeah, I love it, man. So obviously you've got some divisions. You've got the duels divisions. You've got the free agents that you're offering, and we'll get into that. You've got your open division. Before we get into all that, I've had a lot of questions about the girls tournament. I don't know if you or Seve or whomever wants to chime in on this, but can you talk about the girls tournament? Is it a duel? Is it an open event?
So the girls specifically for this time, so this time around, like a lot of times we'll have, more divisions for the duels, but because this was a new tournament, it's easier to start with less divisions. So, and on the dual side, it's boys / co-ed, and it's elementary 6th and under, it's middle school 8th grade and under, and then it's high school 8 through 12. So, that's labeled, let's say, as it's not labeled gender specific, but it's co-ed. So if there's girls that want to wrestle on a dual team, then they'll just jump over, let's say, on the boys side, or the it's not gender specific, right? It's
when you guys have reached out, I know you had mentioned Seve had reached out to a lot of these individuals that have just signed up for open but haven't been on open division. So you're not just reaching out to boys, you're reaching out to boys and girls and asking, hey, do you want to be a free agent on a dual team?
Yeah. So then, like on the flip side, let's say on the open side, we always want to run a girls division, and most of our tournaments do have a girls division for the duels now too. But depending on the time of the year or the locations, sometimes the participation isn't the greatest, and it's hard to get those teams. So this time around, like, we'd have loved to have a girls division, but we also would have loved to have, let's say, a 3rd grade and under division or some other divisions as well. But we just knew that it might be a challenge, so we didn't do a specific girls division for the duels. We do have a girls division for the individual open tournament. And while there's weight class listed and things like that, at the end of the day, it's going to be a Madison system tournament. We're going to group them together. Now, what we typically do is, if the participation isn't, real high, or it's not enough for them to get, let's say, 3 to 5 matches on the open, and even for the boys, but for the girls, we'll always say, hey, do you want to double up? Do you want to do a second weight class or division for the girls? And let's say maybe you're 12 years old, you'll wrestle 12-year-old girls, but then we'll also throw you in the 12-year-old boys division as well. And we never charge them for it. So we want them to maximize their matches. We know every single time those girls travel, they're taking a chance of not having other people in their division. So we'll offer them a second opportunity to wrestle in the boys division at no charge.
Nice. Awesome. Well, good for you. I hope that's the questions. I know that's what's going on with the girls. So you've got the duels. It's elementary school, which is 6th grade and below. Middle school is 7th and 8th grade. Now it said high school 8 through 12th. I know you have 8 in middle school, and then it says 8 through 12th on your website for high school. Is that because you're going to allow 8th graders to be in that high school division if they're
Yeah, so it's no different than, let's say, if you're in 6th grade, you can choose, or 6th grade and below, you can choose whether you want to wrestle in the elementary or the middle school division, right? You're still under 8th grade. So like for high school, it's just always been, one, you might have an 8th grader that's just a hammer that wants the competition. And then 2, in certain areas of the country, 8th grade can be high school in season. So we just open it up and say, hey, if you're in 8th grade and you want to wrestle on a high school team, you're more than welcome to. And we have a 98-pound weight class or a 106-pound weight class. Is low. So, you might need an 8th grader to fill that weight class.
Nice. Now, if you have a child out there that's maybe they're a real beginner, like, maybe they've wrestled a little bit, maybe they haven't won much yet, they're newer on the scene. Would you recommend they come to this tournament?
For this specific tournament, I would say if they have experience, then come. If they've never wrestled a day in their life, then you probably don't want to come. But generally speaking, like a lot of our events, it depends on the quantity, but a lot of our events will run 2 different divisions. So we'll have a national division and we'll have an American division. And, depending on where you want to be. But if you're in a national division, a lot of times you're like a team shut, right? You're coming in as an all-star team, and you're coming to win a title and the rest of the best guys in the country. Now, the guys that are in the American division, a lot of times it's just my club kids, or it's just my high school kids, or my rec kids. And, those guys can make a decision. If they're extremely competitive and it's their own guys and they want to wrestle in the national division and challenge themselves, they can. If they're, saying, hey, we're just a school team or a rec team, we're here and we want to get the matches and the experience, but we don't necessarily want to get our heads ripped off, then they'll choose to go into the American division. And every tournament's a little bit different, but a lot of times that's the coach's decision. But for Poseidon specifically, my recommendation would be, if you have wrestling experience and you want to get better and you love wrestling, then you should be there regardless of what your level of expertise is.
Okay. And so similar to Disney, you're going to have, like, people take 3 teams, there's 3 divisions. You've got the big dog, like CFWA starters, the shoot starters, the Indian starters, and then their backup teams will wrestle in the other divisions. So
if they choose to, yeah. But this tournament, this time around, the tournament's, on a smaller side. So we'll have 1 division, but most of the time, whether it's 1 division or multiple divisions, within those divisions, we have pool systems. So, you'll have an opportunity in the initial pool to be able to wrestle everybody, the best all the way down to the not so best. But then once you get re-bracketed, I'm going to go into, if I lost every single match, I'm going to go into a pool with other teams from other pools that lost every single match. Or I'm going to go into the gold pool where, all the undefeated teams are in the gold pool and they all get to wrestle each other. So you'll get a combination of different levels of competition, but the ultimate goal is to get you that level of competition that's equal to you in the medal rounds.
nice. Awesome. And I appreciate that, because I don't know. So I'm asking questions for me too, right? And hopefully these questions are working. But Shane McCall shouted out, there's a huge water park next to the tournament. So anybody fighting the snow right now, there's a water park next to the tournament. And Miss Williams just said, looking forward to Daytona. So now it comes in, and we'll get into the open division, I know, but talk a little bit about the free agent system. I know we had mentioned this just briefly because Seve's been reaching out, but for people out there, and I'll let them explain it, but for people out there right now that have been thinking about doing the Tyrant or the Poseidon Duel and Open, and you have a kid in your home going, but damn, our school's not going, we don't have a team going, so I didn't even bother signing up for it. Well, there's a free agent division, and I'll let them explain it.
Yeah, so basically, the free agent is, I don't have a team, but I want to wrestle on a team and I want to participate in this tournament. So, and it started years ago. So, if your team's not attending, but you want to come as an individual, then you should reach out and contact us. We have a free agent registration. So you come on there, typically you come on there, you pay a couple bucks because we got to process everything and do whatever. And we put it out there for the masses. And typically it's for teams that are trying to fill a hole, right? Hey, I need a 170 pounder, but I don't have anybody. Well, then you have this free agent that comes in and he signs up and he just so happens to be a 170 pounder. So these coaches from all these teams will check the free agent list and they'll try to fill in all their holes because we don't want any forfeits. So we're trying to help, the individual wrestler that needs a team, and then we're trying to help the team itself fill all their open weight classes. Specifically for Poseidon, one, we do have the free agent list. So, again, if you don't have a team, you can sign up as a free agent and we will find you a team so you can come and participate. But every single kid that had registered, or every single wrestler that has registered for the open individual tournament, because we're trying to build the teams and get the tournament going, we have reached out, specifically Seve and our staff has reached out to every single open registered wrestler to say, do you want to be on a dual team? You're already going to be there. Why not, double your matches? So if you haven't been contacted, or, you want to be on a dual team and you're not already, you should reach out to us as soon as possible and we will find a spot for you so you can participate.
Great. Now, boy or girl, everybody, it doesn't matter. They'll put you on a team.
Boy, girl, in any division, any age, doesn't matter. If you want to wrestle and you want to come to the Daytona Beach, you contact us and we'll find a way to get you on a team.
Awesome. Now, if let's say your club team signs you up on a dual team, are you automatically signed up for the open side?
No, so you'll have,
signed up for both.
Yeah, so really until this past year, most of what we did was duels or just open. So it was one or the other, and most of it was duels. We only had like one open ever. And again, that started just because I used to coach, and it was easier to run a tournament as a coach for the duels, and you were guaranteed matches. So if you sign up for the duels, it doesn't automatically register you for the open, and vice versa. So we made it in a way where our duels, they start on time, they end on time. We're extremely efficient. So we know we're going to be done by, whatever time on Saturday, or all these other tournaments. So then we said, you know what? There's kids that aren't on a team or don't want to be on a team that want to come in and wrestle in an open, or there's kids that are coming from Colorado or all over the place, or they're already there and they want to double their matches. So we've added an open tournament to that. So the short answer is one registration doesn't necessarily register for the other. You need to register for both. So your coach will sign up for the duels, and then he'll build his team. But the individual wrestler does not need to sign up for the dual meet tournament. The coach is taking care of that. Any wrestlers that want to participate in the open, you'll need to register on your own. And the sooner you do that, the more money you save.
Nice. And you've seen some tournaments in the past where the open is getting ready to start, and you may shout out, hey, last minute register. Has anybody changed their mind? You want to jump in? Will there be some of that, or is there a deadline?
So, we always have at the initial deadline. So the cost of registration is $40 to sign up. Once we get past a certain date, then it'll go to $50. And then we'll accept walk-ins the night before. So for Poseidon, anybody can walk in and register on site on Friday at weigh-ins. And really, like, we're trying to incentivize people to register earlier and save money, so it helps us with the planning process.
Absolutely.
If nobody registered until the day before, you don't know if you're going to have one kid or 1,000 kids, right? So it really just comes down to planning. When we get to the actual day of the tournament, because we're already running a dual meet tournament, if we know that we have 20 more openings or 30 more openings or something like that, based off of how we structured the tournament with the number of mats and the time frames that we want to get done, we will make some announcements. We'll say earlier in the morning, hey, if you haven't registered for the open and you changed your mind and you do want to wrestle today, come up and see us. You have until this time or until we sell out, and this is how many slots we have. But generally speaking, like if I'm making a public service announcement, we want you to pre-register. And then if you're going to walk in and register, then you would need to do it on Friday night at weigh-ins. But the sooner you register, the more it helps our tournament and then ultimately helps you.
But don't assume, because your weight division might be full.
It could be, or just in general, we might only be, like for this one, or sometimes we're saying, hey, we're only going to accept 500 kids, or we're only going to accept 750. I mean, normally we have the flexibility to run as many as we want because we have so many mats. So like, for instance, one tournament, we had 64 mats for the duels. And we knew that we want to be done. We start at 3 o'clock and we want to be done by 6 o'clock at the latest. So you're still out by dinner time. So then we ran 32 mats for the open. So we know that we have up to a certain number of mats to be able to run because we're already there for the duels. And then we have a formula that will say, hey, all right, we want to be done in 3 hours at the most. Here's how many mats we have to run. And this is how many wrestlers that we can take. So we have some flexibility in there. But at the end of the day, like, we're running 2 tournaments within one day, where most people are trying to run 1 tournament and still aren't getting out in the time frame that we're getting out.
Plus, I'm sure a lot of these places that you're leasing now have capacity requirements because of the COVID, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the open division, now we spoke about the girls a little bit. That's the duels, free agents. Get in there. If you haven't signed up, there's a place for you. The open division is going to be boys 8U to 18U, girls 8U to 18U. Again, your weigh-in for the duels will be your weigh-in for the open as well. That's all good. Now, let's say you're only competing in the open. When would weigh-in be for the open?
Yeah, so back to your point, if you wrestle in the duels and you weigh in on Friday from 2 to 4, 6 to 8, that weigh-in counts for the open and for the duels. You're good to go for the weekend. Go eat and have fun in Daytona Beach. If you're only wrestling in the open tournament, if you're local or you come in on Friday, you can still weigh in on Friday. But let's say that you have no need to be there until Saturday before the tournament, then you can come in. And there's an open only, as long as you're pre-registered, you can weigh in on Saturday. I believe it's from 12 to 1. You can weigh in on Saturday, and then you're there, you get warmed up, and then you can wrestle.
Love it. Now, so miscellaneous stuff you have on there now. If anybody, when I posted there, the advertisement for having these folks come on, you'll see a link there that takes you to the page that will answer all your questions. But for the show's sake, and so you can just hear it from us, it said there that you can enter multiple divisions. True, false?
Absolutely.
So you can enter in multiple weight divisions, have at it, enjoy yourself, go get wrestling. Your age has to be one of those ages as of March 27th, which is the day the tournament starts. So if you're turning that age after that, well, you got to wrestle the age you are. There are dual weigh-ins for open. We just spoke about that. Explain this NCAA out of bound rules.
Yeah, so for us, I mean, it's just keeping the action going, right? Running the tournament as efficient as possible, and it just kind of evolved over the years. But at the end of the day, we run NCAA out of bounds rules. That's really probably the only modified rule that we have. So NCAA out of bounds rules just to keep the kids wrestling, and then depending on the event, the mats are slightly smaller. They're still of legal size, but it's a 28-foot circle versus, let's say, a 30 or a college-sized mat. So we want to keep the action rolling. So we've always run NCAA out of bounds rules. And our advice to the kids are don't stop wrestling until the referee pulls you off the kid and blows the whistle. Like, don't be the judge of it, because, you'll have parents screaming and hollering, he's out of bounds, but no, they're not out of bounds. It's NCAA out of bounds. So that's really the only thing. I mean, the other thing is people always ask, is headgear mandatory? And I always say you got to wear a helmet at a football game, right? So, depending on the tournament, back in the day, we used to say, headgear is optional or it's mandatory, but really nowadays, for safety and liability reasons, it's, hey, unless you're a cadet or junior or above in freestyle and Greco, everything else, the rule book says you got to wear a headgear. So we're just enforcing the rules and keeping everybody safe and, trying to avoid cauliflower ear or just any injuries whatsoever.
Love it. Now, you're awarding the top four finishers, and it's double elimination through sixth place, because obviously once you get to that point, you might have to wrestle for third or fourth or first or second or whatever it might be, right? And you get an extra match, but it's double elimination through sixth. It's rapid fire style, guys. So these things are going to continue to happen. There is no minimum break requirement. They are very strict about running a 3-hour tournament and getting through it pretty quickly. True?
Yeah, so concerning the brackets and the awards, so we're awarding the top four, but the reason why we want to place out the 6 places because we want to maximize your number of matches. So generally speaking, if there's 6 or less in a bracket, we'll run you as a round robin, so that way you can get the most matches possible. If there's 7 or more, we'll run a traditional bracket because we need to for the sake of time and the way the brackets work out. The whole rapid fire thing is, hey, yes, one, we want to be efficient. We don't want you sitting around all day long. We want to get you in and we want to get you out. And then the other thing is, hey, look, when I'm at practice and we're doing live goes, I don't wait 45 minutes in between matches at practice, right? So let's just, if it's a state tournament or it's a national event, if it's something, that's a little bit different, then we'll stick to it. We'll provide a little bit more of a break. But these, every weekend style open tournaments, the parents and the kids, they want to get as many matches as possible in the shortest period of time, and they want to get in and get out, and that's what we want to do.
They want to get to lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. For anybody who doesn't know, weight allowances, from 14U and under, it's a 1 pound weight allowance. 16U and above, it's 3 pound. How does that work on the dual side?
So it's the same for both. And, it's funny because a lot of people say, well, why do you need a weight allowance, or you should have a weight? We've gone back and forth. So, my perspective on things is, depending on the time of the year, there definitely should be a weight allowance for growth, but the other thing is, if the weight class is 106 and we have a 3 pound weight allowance, I could say, and we've done it in the past, the weight class was 109. Like, we just incorporated it into the weight class. Well, every single time you do that, then people will come in and say, well, is there a weight allowance? Well, yeah, it's already built into the weight class. So people, have to see it to be able to to think that they have it, right? So at the end of the day, yes, the duals and the open are both the same. If you're, 14 or younger or middle school or younger, it's a 1 pound weight allowance. If you're in high school or the 16 or 18, it's a 3 pound weight allowance. So we're showing you there. So whatever the weight class is, add the 1 pound or add the 3 pounds, and that's what you have.
I love it. And is there anything that people need to know coming into this tournament as far as parents? We know you kids have to wear masks if they're not wrestling. Adults have to wear masks if they're not coaching. Other than that, Is there anything that we need to know? Is there a spectator limit? Do tickets need to be purchased prior or at the door? Are there any rules that are different that we should know about coming into the tournament?
Yeah, so if I'm a parent and a wrestler, I get there. If you fill it out ahead of time and bring it with you, great. If not, you'll fill it out on site, but we will have, a waiver form that'll be completed real quick. And then, just some other information to help us plan for the future, like where did you stay or how many people traveled with you, that kind of a thing. You roll through weigh-ins, you're good to go. You'll get every wrestler will get a wristband to show that he weighed in. That night, at weigh-ins, we'll have the box office open so they can buy their admissions wristband for the next day so they don't have to wait in line. So when they come in on Saturday or Sunday, they can just breeze right through. And then all weekend long, we'll have it open. So, we will do temp checks at the door, both competition days. So every single person, including our staff, officials, trainers, all the coaches, wrestlers, parents, everybody will be temp checked. They'll get a temp check wristband that they'll wear to show that, they didn't have a temperature and they passed screening for COVID. And then every wrestler, coach, spectator, they'll all have wristbands as well. So if I'm a parent, I come in at the box office, I'll pay. It will be cash only, so you can prepare. A lot of times there's ATM machines on site, but I'm there. I buy my spectator pass. I'm good to go for the weekend. You can buy a one-day pass or you can buy a weekend pass to save a couple bucks. And then really the only requirement here is that everybody wear a mask. So if you're the two wrestlers on the mat actively wrestling on that mat, then you don't have to wear your mask, obviously. But when you're not wrestling or you're not eating or drinking, you need to wear your mask. We always promote or say that, if you can keep 6 feet away from people or 10, the further you can stay away from people, the better, right? But a lot of these people are traveling together or practicing together anyway. So, but there is a capacity limit, but we're not going to be anywhere close to that because of the size of this event. So anybody that wants to come, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, siblings, anybody that wants to come for this event, you're welcome to come. There is no limits on spectators. And you can just purchase on site your admission.
Now, is there any card requirements? Is there any coaching card requirements? Is the AAU USA, whatever, or is it just come as you are?
Yeah, so we're privately insured and we're open to everybody. So it doesn't matter what organization you're, sanctioned through, if you even have an organization, but AAU, USA, none of that matters. For the dual side of things, every single team will receive 2 coaches passes as part of their registration fee and a table worker pass. So basically you get 3 passes to do what you want to get you in for the weekend. On the open side of things, if you're just coming for the open or you want to coach your kid, there is no special coaches pass that you need to purchase. So we're not going to, we're not one of those tournaments that hits you for an extra $50 because you want to coach your kid, right? So if you bought a spectator pass or you have a coach's pass from, the duels, anybody can coach any wrestler at the open tournament, and you don't have to have a coach's passes through, your USA membership or special coach's passes for that tournament.
So all 5 of us are coaching this one kid at the open. Can we all stand in the corner?
We prefer that you keep it to 2 coaches per corner, but anybody's welcome to coach.
Yeah, I'm sure you get that, right? Wait a second, we're all Johnny's coach. Man, you've got a lot of coaches, right?
That makes it hard for Johnny to hear 5 different things at once. But yeah.
Yeah. Seve, was there anything that you wanted to add on to any of this, that requirements discussion for what?
Yeah, so I did have one thing for you, Dan. Something exclusive just for you. I know that I had recently posted in some of the Florida pages a sneak preview of our singlet that we put out for Poseidon. So just for you, Dan, I'm going to show you what we have for our shorts. I don't know how well it's going to come up with a screen to screen, but we have a sneak preview right here. We have an amazing graphics team as well as an apparel team. We do manufacture all of our own clothing for the tournaments. So it's just another thing as Tyrant that we do. We have our own clothing line that, we do all team gear as well as anything that you guys may need, awards otherwise. So just for you, Dan, that's a little sneak preview of what we got coming from our apparel side with this Poseidon tournament coming up.
Nice. Now, do you have is there a store on site at these tournaments?
So yes, we do have a store on site. We will have, basically every clothing that you could think of, t-shirt, shorts, quarter zips. We didn't do a sweatshirt this time just because, it is going to be 81 degrees down there. So we decided, a lightweight quarter zip. We got bags, singlets. So it will be, we will have a store as well as, wrestling shoes, all the gear that you could possibly want that will, defense soap products, everything that a wrestler could need, we'll have available to them at a convenient little store right there at our head table.
Nice. And now you're located in the same area that Cory is? You live up there in the Northeast too?
Yeah, so I live in Delaware as well. I'm actually at the Tyrant headquarters right now, getting ready for this amazing event. Super excited because I see it as a little mini vacation as well. Any chance to get out of this little bit colder weather is why I love being a Tyrant. Get to travel all over the country.
So right there, I said it before, in between Philly and Baltimore, you guys go like Philly cheesesteak or Baltimore crab cake?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, we love, well, especially if you're a wrestler, right? I don't have to make weight anymore. I love eating. So it depends on where I'm at, will determine what I order.
I love it. You guys go Center City or Baltimore Harbor?
I don't go to either really because I'm always at wrestling tournaments. I would prefer to go to the Baltimore Harbor because I'd rather be around water than downtown, but that's nothing against Philly. I go to Philly all the time.
Yeah, well, they got that great seaquarium down there, right? In the harbor. I think this will probably date me, but the last time I was down there was like a big ESPN zone. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Yeah. Hey, one of the things I know you were just saying, but one of the things that, we put out there is, for me, I wear 3 different hats, right? Like I was a coach at one point, I was a parent, of even non, wrestling events, but a coach, a parent, and now a tournament director. And we try to do all the right things. So specifically for the Open, one of the things I put out there a few months ago is, and I had the magic number 7, it could go, up or eventually or whatever, but 7's always my number. Like we talked about, my dad passed away when I was 7, and that's really why I pulled that number out of a hat. That's just a number that's always in my head. But there are kids out there that can't afford to wrestle. And this has become, a sport. Like when I was a kid, it was like, I thought everybody could wrestle, right? It wasn't this craziness of traveling all the time. So, if there's anybody on a team that can't afford to wrestle in the Open, that wants to wrestle in the Open, that's already going to be there for the duels, or maybe more specifically the local kids, right? Because then obviously if you're traveling across the country, you might, but if there's any kids that are in your area that can't afford to wrestle in this Open, right away off the top, if there's 7 kids, that we're going to allow to be able to wrestle for free, and we're not going to charge them. So, just email us, mom or dad or wrestler, send us an email to info@tyrantwrestling.com and just say, I'm interested in wrestling in the Open. We don't need to know. We're just trusting you, right? We don't need to know what your circumstances are, but just let us know that you can't, you want to take advantage of one of the free slots. We don't want a kid not to be able to wrestle because mom or dad just lost their job or got laid off or any other extenuating circumstance. And there has been times here and there, depending on the situation, where, we let a whole team in that was like a beat the streets team or something like that, just giving you an example. But at the end of the day, what we're saying is we want to do this for all the right reasons. It's all about opportunity. If there's any kids that are down in that area that can't afford to wrestle and wouldn't come otherwise without this invitation, then please reach out to my team, info@tyrantwrestling.com. Let us know you'd like to take advantage of one of the slots that we're offering for free, and we want to get you there. And I'll take it another step further. If mom or dad that's bringing you, if they can't even afford to pay the admission to come in and watch their own kid or coach their own kid, and that's the only way for you to get there, then let us know that as well. And we'll make sure that we get mom or dad in so they can see their kid wrestle, and we won't charge them a dime. So we can't do that for everybody, right? It costs money to run events, and I got to pay Daytona Beach Convention Center and officials and awards and all those things. But the people that truly need it, there are some that we can afford to be able to do that with, to help them out and give them that opportunity. So, just putting that out there, we want people to be able to take advantage of wrestling, and that's the reason why we're doing it.
Oh, that's awesome. Seve, you'll see Haley Comer Williams just commented, I can add 4 to your 7. So maybe reach out to her. She just messaged on the group chat while you were speaking about that. It looks like she has 4 that she can obviously need the assistance. So
yeah, I think all the information is on our website, and we try to make it where it's you understand everything, or you have all the knowledge there. But really, we have a team of guys in our office. So anybody out there that has any questions about this event or any other tournament coming up, any questions, any concerns, you need help with anything, we want you to have the best possible experience and be prepared for the event going into it. You can call us at 833-TYRANT1. You can email us at info@tyrantwrestling.com, or you can go onto our website, tyrantwrestling.com, and just click on Tyrant Tournament. So
Oh, no,
anything.
I'm sorry. She said, I'll donate 4 more spots.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
This says Haley Comer Williams. She's like, no, I don't have 4 to add to your 7. I'll donate 4 more spots to your 7.
So now we're at 7 or 11. Those are both lucky numbers.
Yeah, so now we're at 11. Okay, sorry, Haley, I misunderstood. So
The crazy thing is, Dan, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but it's like anytime you're paying it forward or anytime you're doing good, it's crazy how many people will rally around you to do good, right? So Haley, we appreciate it. And, you know, a side note, like we've donated for breast cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, mental health awareness, for suicide prevention. There's a few key organizations that we're involved with. And at some of these tournaments, like at the beginning of the tournament, we'll make an announcement and say, hey, this tournament, we're going to take some proceeds and we're going to put it towards this organization or to this, you know, we might not have a specific organization in mind yet because we're still trying to figure it out. And it's amazing how many people will come up to us and say, hey, here's $100, or let me know what organization you're going to donate to because I'm going to donate to that organization. So, you know, that just makes me feel great. And I just want to say thank you, Haley, for, you know, adding to our 7 slots. So now we're minimally at 11 people that can come in and wrestle for free that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford it.
She's awesome. She's been a part of the wrestling community for years and years. I believe I talk to her a lot at night. She refs and does all that stuff. Her son is at CFWA, wrestles at Lake Highland Prep. And I know that talking to the coaches, I believe they're looking at bringing 2 teams to the duels. So we'll definitely have presence there, but she's great. Her son's great. And that's great. So thank you, Haley. And hopefully I'll see you this evening at club practice. But that's awesome. Anyone else want to donate while we're on here? It'll be like a live auction. Do I hear more? Do I hear more? Do I hear more? But no, that's pretty cool. It's great to hear. Again, if you haven't signed up because you're worried you're not on a team, if you're a male or a female, no matter what age, get signed up. They've got a team for you. Just reach out. It's on the site. I posted the link on the advertisement when I posted the art, but I'm sure we can post a link here. But it's not hard. Just go to tyrantwrestling.com. There's a thing where it says tournaments. You'll see Poseidon. Click it. It'll tell you all about it. Pretty simple stuff. They do have a store. You know, help them. This is how they make money to put on these events. Is part of their clothing lines, putting on the events, proceeds. So get on there, get some cool gear for your trip. There will be gear for sale there. So make sure you hit up the store and get your stuff. And I can't wait. It seems like it's going to be a great time, a fun time. I'm excited to get out there and watch the kids wrestle. If you guys would like me to take pictures or photos, just let me know, and I can bring my camera and I can do all that. So you don't have to pay me. I'll donate me.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you're welcome to cover whatever you'd like.
Yeah, so it'll be a good time, and I look forward to meeting you guys in person. I really appreciate it. I'm always honored for people to take the time to come onto my show, because I'm not one of those ego guys or think high. I just want to give back to the sport. So to get to meet some guys like yourself is great, and I look forward to hopefully my children getting to wrestle in a lot of your tournaments around the country and getting to experience that too. So I would love to get back to Philly. I really love that town. You know, grandma was born there. I spent some time there. You can gain about 27 pounds in a 2-day period there. So
on the flip side, my mother lives in Merritt Island, right outside of Cocoa Beach now. So she's in Florida.
Beautiful. So will she be coming up and watching the duels? She
won't come up for that, but I will definitely be visiting her.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys.
It's more about COVID right now. That's all. But
yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, she'd love to come.
Yeah, no, I hear that a lot. I mean, coaches that I've talked to would quarantine themselves for a certain amount of days before going to visit mom and dad, just because it's mom and dad. So yeah, anyway, out there, everybody, guys, please wrestle. Please be safe. Please show up for the Tyrant duels. Please have fun. Enjoy yourself. Get as much wrestling in as you can. I mean, this is all for fun. You're not winning a national championship. Go out, have a good time, get better, keep your head up, and just thanks these guys for putting these great tournaments on.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, keep up the great work. Thanks for having us on. I look forward to meeting you next weekend.
Thanks, Dan.
Absolutely. You guys take care.
All right. Take care.